Now for our roundtable with our News Channel 5 political analyst, Brian Crowley. As always, thank you, Brian, for being in. Happy Thanksgiving time to you and the family.
Same to you.
We'll begin. I want to tee up some of the sound from last Friday. So the U.S. Attorney General, Merrick Garland, decides to appoint a special counsel to probe former President Donald Trump's actions leading up to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol and the discovery of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Friday night, the former president took a break from a black-tie gala at Mar-a-Lago to react.
This horrendous abuse of power is the latest in a long series of witch hunts. It started a long time ago. I thought the investigation with the document hoax was dying or dead or over, but they want to do bad things to the greatest movement in the history of our country, but in particular, bad things to me, but I've gotten used to it. This is a rigged deal, just as the 2020 election was rigged, and we can't let them get away with it. We can't do it. We cannot let this happen. I've proven to be one of the most honest and innocent people ever in our country.
I strongly believe that the normal processes of this department can handle all investigations with integrity. And I also believe that appointing a special counsel at this time is the right thing to do. The extraordinary circumstances presented here demand it.
Those extraordinary circumstances, of course, the announcement by the former president that he's running again, and the fact that the sitting president, Joe Biden, may consider a second term. He and the family, he says, will talk about it over the holidays. Brian, first, your initial reaction to the news and to the former president's response.
Well, I think I would remind the former president that when Richard Nixon left office, there were investigations that were going to take place, and some of them may have been criminal investigations. The difference is that then President Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon, so all the investigations stopped. So it's not unheard of to investigate a former president. So he is a little C citizen now. That is what the founders intended, that when you left office as president, you just become an ordinary citizen like everyone else. So it is now up to the Justice Department to move forward with their investigation and conclude whether or not there are going to be any criminal charges.
And to allow the special counsel to do that very thing, because Mr. Garland said it will be his choice whether or not legal criminal charges follow as a result of all this.
And there's always the possibility that the special counsel will decide there's no there there, and nothing will happen. So the process has to move forward. It's not like they're going to suddenly stop the investigation because Mr. Trump wants them to. So, he is not special under these circumstances. He's just another citizen who's under investigation.
I noticed in his remarks Friday, I was there at Mar-a-Lago when he announced his run for 24. He did not bring up 2020 and, quote, the rigged election. And in fact, pressing for candidates in the midterms who carried that discredited claim cost a lot of those candidates and have a lot of Republicans angry that because of that, it cost them a much bigger majority in the House and may well have cost them the Senate. The Senate will remain in Democratic hands. Interesting he brings that up yet again. I found that interesting from the announcement to Friday night. But it all is part and parcel of the debate that will go on and on and on now. And his supporters will argue again, independent counsel or not. See, they're out to get him. Others will say, as you are arguing, let the investigation play out.
Well, it's been sort of remarkable that some Republican leaders who have been remarkably silent over the last 6 years suddenly have found their voice. And they found their voice because they see the political future of the party at risk. Not because they're looking out for the betterment of the country, but the fact that they see losses in the midterms that they directly attribute to Donald Trump. So some of them now would wish he would just go away, and I don't think that's going to happen.
We all acknowledge it's reading tea leaves, as Kevin Wagner and I were talking about a little while ago. We have him in the race. Ron DeSantis keeps telling reporters, quit asking me that for the moment, even though nobody's going to quit asking him, and the expectation is that he's teeing up a bid for 2024. But as you look at this as now part of that debate, does it rally even more of that base to the former president, or does it embolden the argument from Republicans that we need to move on to someone else without all the baggage or potential baggage? To me, that's going to be an intriguing part of this whole discussion in the months to come.
Yeah, it's certainly hard to predict the future, but Ron DeSantis and some of the other candidates but Ron DeSantis in particular, are offering this alternative. You know, I believe in all the things that Donald Trump tried to believe in and accomplish, but I do it without the baggage, without the noise, without the investigations. So let's move forward. And there's an increasing number of Republicans who believe that. So, you know, for Governor DeSantis and some of the others who are looking about running against Donald Trump, they see this path that says, as each week and month goes by, Republicans are growing increasingly weary of Donald Trump, and they benefit from that.
We'll have to see what grows out of the special counsel's probe and the ultimate decision that Merrick Garland says we'll respect on whether charges should come out of this. And that creates with it a whole different landscape that we'll discuss for another day. Let's look back to the midterms a little bit. Florida, the reports continue to come out that one of the reasons Republicans nationally are intrigued with the governor, well, several, landslide victory over the Democrat Charlie Crist, a Latino vote, continues to see polling that suggests did much better even than he had done in 2018. The Latino vote moving to the governor, the votes in Miami-Dade, Palm Beach County, traditional Democratic strongholds to the governor. Talk about midterms, your sense of where we are both for the governor and for the parties.
Well, for the Democratic Party, in Florida, it's just a mess. They have been collapsing since Jeb Bush became governor in 1998. I was speaking with a Democrat on Friday who went door to door in the Lake Worth area to try to turn out the vote. And he said that the Democrats he met with were basically, you know, not that interested, weren't encouraged, and he could sense that the turnout wasn't going to be what the Democrats had hoped it would be, and that's been a huge problem for them. Charlie Crist was not a very good candidate. It was his third statewide run. I think there was some exhaustion with him. And Ron DeSantis made no mistakes in his campaign, and he raised $200 million compared to, I think it was $20 million for Charlie Crist, and he carried not just himself, but he carried the entire ticket. So you wound up with local races that went Republican that nobody expected to go Republican. Ron DeSantis won Palm Beach County. That was a huge change, big.
Does he use the same formula if he's looking at a national campaign, fought against COVID lockdowns and restrictions on a host of culture war issues, has given himself a national reputation, got a standing ovation at a Republican gathering in Las Vegas just yesterday? Do you think it's the same prescription, the same approach if he moves on nationally?
Yeah, a lot of the potential candidates, including Donald Trump, who did it by satellite, spoke at the Republican Jewish Coalition, and Ron DeSantis was the last speaker, got a standing ovation. They loved him. He told them that Florida has been the blueprint for success for the Republican Party and for the nation. So he's not backing down from the things he's done or his plans. He just lost an injunction on his on the Woke Act.
Right.
The judge, in a 136-page opinion, said that you can't stop colleges and universities from teaching and only following state orders on how to teach. But that won't stop Ron DeSantis. He's already said he's going to appeal it. He is going to stick with his agenda because it's worked for him.
Brian Crowley, as always, thank you. Closing comments from Brian coming up in just a moment.